Good evening, viewers. I welcome you to this teleconferencing session. I am Professor Anurag Joshi from the Faculty of Political Science, School of Social Sciences at the IGNOU headquarters. With us present today is Professor Radhakant Barik from the Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi. He is a subject expert for today. Those of you who missed out on our earlier session, I'll just like to remind that today we have we are going, this is our second session of teleconferencing being conducted by the Political Science faculty. Our first session, which finished some time ago, was on Jawaharlal Nehru. The theme for the first as well as the second session is on thinkers, thinkers who fall in the domain of what is known as modern Indian political thought. First session we covered Jawaharlal Nehru as a thinker, as a nation builder, as an institution builder, as a statesman. Our second session today is devoted to Jayaprakash Narayan, or JP as he was more popularly called and remembered also. Now JP or Jayaprakash Narayan, when one mentions his name, usually what people are able to connect with his name is what came to be known as total revolution or Sampurn Kranti in the 1970s. Beyond that, people are not able to say much about him, which is unfortunate for JP. Has been a prominent thinker in the socialist stream, but as a thinker, as an activist, he has not been paid attention that he perhaps deserves. One reason could be that he voluntarily chose to be outside the formal structures of power with reference to India. But as I said, in the context of Nehru, those of you who were listening to our first session, there were many aspects and dimensions to Nehru's personality, and same is with Jayaprakash Narayan, who is much more than just the concept of a total revolution or Sampurn Kranti with which he is associated, and it is these various aspects and facets of Jayaprakash Narayan that we'll be covering in this session. Our subject expert, Professor Radhakant Barik, as I mentioned during the first session also, he has in fact written units on specifically Jayaprakash Narayan and also Jawaharlal Nehru for a course on modern Indian political thought, which is our elective number 3 at the bachelor's degree level. This course is going to be a new course in the distant future, where the course code will be EPS 13. And for the old course as well as the new course, Professor Barik has written on these two thinkers, that is Jayaprakash Narayan and Jawaharlal Nehru, and therefore we have invited him as a expert today. Professor Barik, would you like to take up from, I mean, JP is, when we talk of JP, usually what people are able to recollect is total revolution or Sampurn Kranti. Beyond that, they are not able to say much.
Yeah,
so, how do you,
I thank Professor Joshi and inviting me. Plus, he has raised most important point. JP, in a contemporary Indian political thinking, he actually brought a concept called total revolution, and which became popular in current politics of 70s and 80s. The reason it was popular because first time actually his arguments for building a multi-party democracy and accountability, or what he argues that Rajniti versus Lokniti. Actually, what he was arguing in the Rajniti versus Lokniti is a part of total revolution. What is Lokniti? There should be accountability of the politicians towards the people who are electing them. That was one part of his Lokniti. We can discuss this because that if you look, JP was arguing one thing, that Rajniti is about power politics, politics which is linked with institutions and people who are holding power, whereas Lokniti is about people who involved in constructive political works. This concept is derived in Gandhi's political movement in late 20s and 30s. You might be remembering Gandhi always had a abstain from active politics and getting involved in constructive works. What was those two dimensions of his constructive work? That one work he did with his spinning, that charkha. Everybody should have a charkha and do some spinning. By that contribute to generating wealth by his own hand, or what he says, bread labor. That you must earn every day's bread by doing hard labor. That is one part. Second part is about social reconstruction that he did with the horizon. That concept of horizon he brought, and he went in a vigorous manner with the people, taking all castes and all community, going to launched a movement called abolition of untouchability, and it is succeeded to first time break the social institutional framework of keeping a section of the people outside of a Hindu caste system, what is known as untouchability. And that this is most critical, and this is not done with the help of power politics. This is done with both these parts are done with the help of what is known as social reconstruction. And taking this clue from Gandhi's social reconstruction work, JP started constructing his ideas, Lokniti, that people must have power to change their affairs. With the how they can change? Now you should also control whom you are electing. You should also nominate the people who are going to be candidates in a parliamentary constituency or assembly constituency in a non-party, non-political manner. You should get together and select your candidates, and that is one. And also you have a right to recall if you are not happy with their performance. Many of you must be feeling your MPs might not be doing his work, he is not taking his responsibility seriously. Suppose you suffer from flood, drought situation, or various communicable diseases, you don't find his helping hand, then you have a right to recall. What does it mean? Actually, he brings the political leadership, elected political leadership, elected political representatives, to have better social accountability to the people. This is one part of his Lokoniti. And the second part is, he argued further, it is not just limiting, that how to cleanse this system of corruption. That is another part, because a politician, which actually till today he was debating over this, is that we must also have a system within the, we must have institutions within the system to remove corruption from the both public life, political life, as well as administrative life. That's why he succeeded to suggest that Santhanam committee, which was an old committee which suggested to have an institution like Vigilance Commission. And today's newspaper is talking about this Vigilance Commission. He is the first one, JP is the first one, who brought this idea from old document like Santhanam Committee report and brought into the sharp focus or public discussion, public forum, that yes, we must have an institution like Vigilance Commission, you must have institution, various institutions to control corruption and remove corruption from the public life as well as the administrative life. These are the two important part of the Lokaniti. Also third part, another part also is there, that is called decentralized devolution of power, that people at Panchayat or Gram Sabha level must tackle their own problems. State must hand over 3 F's, finance, functions and functionaries to these village panchayats and village gram sabha, which actually after JP this issue was seriously taken by the political leadership and got implemented. It is popularly known as 73rd, 74th Amendment. The actually in these 3 components of Lokaniti, last 2 parts have been somehow or other has been institutionalized. For instance, one is 73rd, 74th Panchayati Raj and decentralized urban administration. But at this Santhanam Committee suggestion about Vigilance Commission, both these institutions have been established. But first part, which you was talking about to have a better accountability of the political leadership, elected leadership, like right to recall, till today has not been introduced. And that is what his concept of total revolution.
Well, thank you, Radha Khanji. Well, as the professor mentioned, the crucial elements of JP's Lokniti, he's talked about how JP was abhorred the idea of power politics or Rajniti, which is unfortunately the dominant paradigm. Now, when we were discussing Nehru, Radhakanji, you mentioned that he was, a product of his bearings. Like you mentioned how he felt stifled by staying in Allahabad, which was a small town, and he was disenchanted with the intelligentsia of his own community, So same way, I was reading your own unit, you mentioned about the Patna city and the caste community in which JP was born. Can you throw some light how these bore upon his, mindset, how his ideas?
Yeah, this is a very interesting part of his life, intellectual life, that he also, like Nehru, went abroad and studied and had his rationalist, socialist outlook while he was studying in USA. Nehru studied in England, he studied in USA, in American university. He got his ideas in his own writings. He admitted almost all literature related to Marx and Engels. He studied in this university.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, he came back, he may not be born in Patna town, but he almost led his whole life, from school days, college days, except his university education. His political career, he centered around this city. Interestingly, this Pataliputra original city remained as a small town. Why? Because it remained, the intelligentsia of this town never came out of the caste framework. It's a locality of this or the face of the city, public face of the city remains as a caste intelligentsia. And he decided to stay within that caste intelligentsia. He lived in a locality which is dominated by caste community, the community he was born. Though it's interesting, he remained above this caste group. He pursued his independent political thinking, staying in a small locality like this and a small town where other caste intelligence are also dominating, like Bhumiyar intellectuals, Brahmin intellectuals, or Rajput intellectuals. It is interesting that staying in a Patna city, he is negotiating with all caste intelligence simultaneously. But at the same time, he has hardly any link with this caste association or caste intelligence. The reason is he is a rationalist. He carried his rationalist ideas and brought new thinking to politics, that is socialist thinking, and he evolved as a socialist thinker in early 30s. And for your information, he was strongly influenced by Nehru's socialist outlook. If you look in 1930s politics, he had they established in a jail, Nasik jail, other socialist leader like Meheroli, Yusuf Meheroli, Patwardhan, all these people actually built a Congress Socialist Party. It's interesting, this party concept you have to look at it. They built a party within Congress party, that this party will remain as a part of the Congress party and pressurize Congress to have a socialist agenda. And they always thought Nehru is their leader. If you look at their correspondence till 50s, they always thought that Nehru is their leader and Nehru will take up their agenda and their program and put pressure on the Congress party to accept it. And another part of it, their Congress Socialist Party was this, that they wanted that Congress should remain as a part of mass party. It should not be confined only middle class or upper class party. It should also have a working class base. It should have a peasantry base. It should have a base in students, among students. That's why the Congress Socialist Party took this party to the various segments of the various classes in Indian society. These are two parts Congress. But at the same time, Congress Socialist Party till 47, till independence, remained as a part of Congress Party and in pleading for a various socialist agenda, or not socialist, one cannot say socialist agenda, progressive agenda within the Congress Party. For instance, when there was a Zamindari abolition issue was discussed in the 40s, Congress CSP raised this issue in every Congress meeting in both provincial level in Bihar as well as in national level. And that pressure also helped Congress Party to take up this issues in 1946 election manifesto. They placed it that once they comes to power, they will remove Zamindari system. That's why they actually played what is in political science language pressure group. They remained as a pressure group within the Congress Party before independence. Also, interestingly, they floated a political party after independence named as a Socialist Party, but somehow or other JP personally as well as the party he created like a Socialist Party could not sustain as a political party. It got splintered into many groups like Praja Socialist Party, Socialist Party led by Lohia, and there was various splinter groups. But his aim was that Congress, why he built another party? He built it means he with other top leaders of Socialist Party like Lohia, they wanted that Congress Party should have also strong opposition. Congress as a ruling party needs a strong opposition party who can pressurize Congress and who can make Congress as a more accountable government. Accountable governance can be introduced in India with a multi-party system where opposition can play a pressure group role. But interestingly, this pressure group politics, when he floated a new party, this new party as a Congress Socialist Party came out of the Congress after independence, became a political party, but it could not remain more or so with JP's leadership. JP got disillusioned from both socialist politics as well as party politics. He left party politics virtually in late 50s and went out of party politics. But before he left politics, in around early 50s, he negotiated with Nehru that his party, or one section of his party, who are the socialists, they all want to merge with Congress. And he could have joined the government or council of ministers headed by Nehru. But interestingly, this negotiation continued. His letters were published. His what demands he placed before Nehru, all were accepted. But somehow or other, last moment he didn't join. and nobody knew why, but it didn't happen. That means he got disillusioned both from power politics as well as also party politics, and he went towards what is popularly known as a non-parliamentary politics, if not anti-parliamentary politics, what is known as a Sarvodaya movement.
Yeah, Radhakanji, thank you for throwing light on JP's role in the formation of the Congress Socialist Party as a pressure group within the Congress and the developments after independence. As Radhakanji has mentioned, JP actually really, what I have also read, he really got disillusioned with what we know as electoral politics. He perhaps felt that a program of restructuring of society, economy, and polity based on Gandhian ideas of reconstruction would be more conducive to the Indian social reality, and therefore we find that JP got into, after a period of time, he got into the Bhoodan movement, which was being led by Vinoba Bhave.
Yeah, Professor Joshi has brought this point, critical point of his politics, JP's politics, that is Sarvodaya movement, or which led Bhoodan movement. Actually, Sarvodaya is a concept. It's not developed by himself alone. There are many Gandhians after independence thought that the welfare of all, Sarvodaya, and the welfare of all should be our approach, and which can be done, can be implemented. A state must also do the work, helping for bringing welfare of all, like giving land to the tiller, land distribution should be done. But at the same time, he was trying to work out what can be called, what at present contemporary political theory called civil society. This is non-parliamentary politics is basically his concept of civil society. That civil society also must take up this challenge. If his land is the biggest problem, is a threat to Indian country, because unequal distribution of wealth in the countryside is a threat, because large-scale peasant movement are organized in 50s and 40s, especially in Telangana movement, Telangana communist movement, and there are many organized peasantry movement all over India. In response to that, they brought a new issue that is called Bhoodan movement. Let the land should go to the tiller as a gift from the landlord to the poor farmer who has no land. This is a very interesting concept. And this was basically, they wanted that helping, it is not in opposition to state. State is also having agenda, same agenda, that land should go to the tiller, zamindari system should be abolished. But at the same time, this Bhoodan movement, which is launched by Vinoba Bhave, he got attracted towards this, hoping that this also will help to implement this land distribution in a very voluntaristic manner, by that landlords who have more land, they can give their surplus land voluntarily to the village community, and village community can distribute it to poor people who have no land. This is an interesting concept, and they developed it. But interestingly, it is not anti-state. Why? Because even Bhoodan movement, when the land they were given by the landlords, gifted to the village community, and village community distributed to the poor people, which was a all India, you can say all India movement. But this all India movement also had a legislative, legal support from the state. State made an act called Bhoodan Act. It is not independent of the state, one can say, because Bhoodan Act also was made by the various state governments made, the legislation. That means legislative support also was there, or state support was there indirectly for implementing this Bhoodan movement or making a success. This is another part of this story.
Now, Radhakanji, I wanted to ask you, like this philosophy of Bhoodan, voluntary gift of land, uh, can it work today as a solution, in the times we are living? Because we know that Bhoodan movement also frittered away after a while, even though the state was supportive.
Yeah. Professor Joshi has brought another critical point. This Bhoodan movement frittered away. Bhoodan movement, this movement went for a gift of land from landlords to poor people. But interestingly, study shows it not only frittered away, it also the land which was given to the poor farmer had gone back to the landlord. That's the study by a leading sociologist Partha Mukherjee has studied. That's why it is not only frittered away. Many places, especially in Bihar, this was a big movement in Bihar, and its study found that in Bihar, the land which was gifted to poor, after some time, this land has gone back once more to the landlord. That's why it has actually it had a noble noble ambitions of political leadership, or people like powerful people like JP and all his friends and comrades joined the movement. For your information, leading professors of this country, many of them joined Bhoodan movement. There was a professor of chemistry in Odisha. He joined the Bhoodan movement. A chief minister who left his post, Odisha chief minister Navkustan Chaudhary left his position of chief ministership, joined Bhoodan movement. In other words, Bhoodan movement got some of the outstanding idealistic politicians into this movement. Intellectuals, professors, chief minister who left their position and joined. But tragedy is this: it is frittered away. You are right. Your sentence is appropriate. It has frittered away. Number one. Number two, study shows it has gone back the land. Land gone back to the landlord. Third point, you are raising whether it is possible to launch similar movement. It is difficult because you need political workers, idealistic people, which was possible those days, because this is what JP as a political leader could realize, that after independence, many of these political workers who are working with him during national movement, who are known popularly as a socialists or Gandhians, they had no role to play in post-independence power structure. They are left out because they could not be accommodated. Then what happened? They were getting disillusioned. And JP is right by taking these people, creating a movement in the society like India. Going to the people, staying with people, living with the villagers. And his last political movement about Bhoodan, you can say, in the 60s, when there was a Naxal movement started in Bihar. In Muzaffarpur district, he went to that block. He started opposing Naxals in a peaceful, democratic satyagraha manner. He told Naxals are demanding land through violence. I demand land in a peaceful manner. You give me land, I will hand over this land to the poor. It's an interesting thing. He succeeded to oppose Naxals and he stayed there in the village. That idealism was there. But Naxals, today's perhaps the failure of Bhoodan movement, failure of legislative way of implementing land reform policies is the net result of Naxal movement today all over India. And it is spreading because of crux of argument is same land.
I wanted to ask you, like JP and Nehru, my understanding is, if they had managed to pull along better, things might have been, different. Or can you
surely, because
throw some
JP,
light,
their
relationship,
surely,
JP and Nehru?
JP yeah,
I mean, it's
Nehru as a
often
prime minister.
speculated.
This is this can be looked into political. There are political reasons that Nehru as a progressive socialist leader became prime minister, and his support base within the party is very weak because Congress Socialist Party left as a socialist group.
Yeah.
That means he had to make compromises with his conservatives within the Congress party, like Rajendra Prasad. Prasad is JP himself is related to Prasad's family. But that is immaterial. But the question is, it is a fact that if JP and other socialists would have remained within the Congress, Congress as a party, which was a vibrant party in post-independence in 50s and 60s, it would have been a more lively party. And this tradition, living tradition of Congress as a vibrant party could have remained for a longer period, because Congress Socialists have success. Who are these Congress Socialists? They are organizing Kisans, they are organizing workers, they are organizing students. That means your critical link with these three important communities in the India broke because of Congress Socialists leaving Congress party and going out of the party, and Nehru became virtually handicapped because of Socialist party left Congress. This is a fact. And also that's why Nehru was negotiating with in 50s, 54, negotiating with JP as a leader, telling them to come back. And also Nehru always tried to help many of these socialist leaders directly or indirectly to get elected from parliament and play as a creative opposition leadership. It is a very interesting thing. Most of the Acharya Narendra-Dev, Lohia, directly or indirectly got support from Nehru to get elected after, though they lose election at the time of the general election, they got elected in the by-election. And they play a very decisive role in political, in parliamentary democracy, in the floor, on the floor of the house, as opposition leader, taking critical issues. For instance, if these leaders, Lohia, JP, as a socialist leaders, JP did not enter into parliament, Acharya Narendra-Dev, all these are socialist leaders and who are very closely associated with JP. And if these leaders should have not entered into parliament, perhaps the corruption issue in a massive way, which happened during Nehru's time, what is known as a Mudra case, would not have disclosed in the parliament. That's why he was partly weakened, and in his correspondence it has been now found, correspondence between Nehru and JP and Nehru. If you look into this correspondence, which has been published now, both as a part of Nehru's collected works as well as JP's collected work, you find that interesting points are there. It is interesting that both are agreeing to the problematic understanding of Indian politics. Both have same understanding that land distribution should be there, mixed economy should be there, planned economy should be there, primary education should be there, health facility should be there. But at the same time, both are not joining hands. This is a perhaps difficult thing to understand. What you can say is a...
Now, one view is, which I have heard over the years, like some accuse JP of being an escapist, Could it be that he kept away from formal structures of power,
Yeah, by staying away from formal structure of power, actually he played what is a famous political scientist use that word. He became a central politician. And a central politician is a very interesting concept. Why? Because very often central politician plays as a pressure group within Indian politics. He took up critical issue like Kashmir issue. He took up issue like Nagaland. Negotiated between a Kashmiri leader like Sheikh Abdullah when he was arrested, put into prison. He pleaded, no, he should be released. Let us negotiate with Sheikh Abdullah to bring a settlement of Kashmir issue. That in one way, that centrally politician character helped to release lot of tension within the system. One way he helped the system to strengthen. But another way, it weakened the Nehru's government to implement major public policies. It's a fact. But at the same time, he also strengthens, strengthen the pillars of the system or a democratic system in two ways. Why? Because he remained as a central politician, as an individual, as a his Sarvodaya group supporters remained as a pressure group within the Indian parliamentary politics. They never joined parliamentary politics as or never got entered into electoral politics, but they remained as a pressure group. They demanded many issues, many things to be settled, and leaders in the central government as well as state government both listened to them. That means there was always a negotiation going on. Actually, partly JP movement, which started our total revolution cause, it is a break between negotiation between Mrs. Gandhi as a Prime Minister and JP as a pressure group leader of the central, as a central politician. If this negotiation would have continued, there would have been no JP movement or student movement in both in Bihar and partly also Gujarat.
Professor Barik, how do you like, since we discussed Nehru in the first session and now we are discussing JP, where do you place the socialist movement today, if there is a movement? How do you look at them?
The actually socialist parties all over the world, especially Western countries, if you look Nehru, when JP floated, JP with Lohia, Acharya Narendra Dev, all of them started coming out of Congress. Their basic philosophy that we should create a social democratic party like Labour Party in England or Social Democratic Party in France, Italy, German.
Yeah.
And all over the world, Social Democratic Party is in at present also situation is growing as a force in opposition to the conservative forces all over the world. And only this country, India, social democracy has virtually disintegrated. It's a tragedy.
One point I wanted to
And
ask you.
part of the reason also JP himself. Why? Because towards the end, he tried to look at all political parties same and played a mediating role in after in 77 after emergency, during emergency, to bring four parties together where socialist is a part of it, like Swatantra Party, Socialist Party, Congress. That time Congress O means Congress Organization, fourth was BJP, sorry, that time no BJP, Jansangh, merging four party, creating Janata Party. That itself actually big blow to Socialist Party. And that is the, you can say, beginning of end of Socialist Party as a party in parliamentary politics in India. But why all over the world it has played a very constructive role? India, it could have played a constructive role because they have a mass base. UP, Bihar, today most of the chief ministers or political leaders are from the splintered groups of the Socialist
earlier
Party.
Socialists.
Earlier Socialists. They are not, but what if they would have remained as a Socialist Party member? It would have now political groups headed by these earlier socialist leaders are their pocket parties. It's not socialist parties. Party means the structure doesn't exist. There are decentralized apparatus, decision-making process doesn't exist. There is no group leadership, no collective leadership. That's a social democracy had a major role to play in India in bringing social change as well as strengthening constitutional democracy, which was Nehru's concept, which was JP's concept, but somehow or other JP himself negated it in pleading for what is his concept called partyless democracy. He brought a concept called partyless democracy. Indirectly, he gave a blow to Socialist Party, as you are arguing. Number one. Number two, this partyless democracy ended in bringing four parties, and out of them three are maybe right of center, but socialists were left of center.
Yeah.
They were also merged with. Under pressure of this conservatives, they virtually dissipated, one can say. Or the left parties now splinter groups are there, leadership, single man organizations are there. But that party as a massive movement and organized party doesn't exist.
Professor Barak, we have about 5 minutes. One issue we can quickly touch up, like if you we discussed Nehru in the earlier session. If you say take Gandhi, Nehru, and say Jayaprakash Narayan, now you find similarities. So, but what were the I mean the points of? Can you throw some light on points of convergence and divergence briefly? If you take these three,
Actually,
Gandhi, Nehru, and JP.
Nehru, Gandhi, Nehru and JP, all three were close associates. JP and Nehru both were close associates of Nehru. But Nehru's had two components in his political thinking. One is political style, one is constructive phase, another is use the state apparatus for social change.
Nehru.
And which he actually depended on Gandhi's mobilization. Because whole Congress party is imaged as a mass party. It was virtually product of Gandhi's strategy like Satyagraha, civil disobedience movement, non-cooperation movement, and Gandhi's strategy that peaceful struggle. All these struggles helped Congress party as a mass party. But Gandhi gave a little confused, Gandhi did not give a confused statement. Somehow or other, towards the, just after independence, a letter from Gandhi, or one article came from Gandhi, which was a close associate of Gandhi, Professor Brahmanand, published it, is called, Gandhi gave a statement, two things, one is trusteeship, another is
disbanding the Congress.
Disbanding the Congress party. This, interestingly, these are not well formulated ideas of Gandhi. This fag end of his, just before death, this has come. It was maybe his ideas given to his close associates, but it was never formulated correctly. That these two ideas were taken seriously by JP, whereas other ideas that yes, you have to serve the poor or welfare of all can be done by the state, and state has to be a democratic socialist state and secular state, which Gandhi, that was Gandhi's idea, which was seriously taken by Nehru. But what would have happened if JP and Nehru both would have remained? They would have been able to implement Gandhi's project much more meaningful manner, because these people had a direct link with the masses.
I think we have about 2 minutes left. Quickly, I will. You see, the fact remains that JP remains, I would say, peripheral figure.
Surely.
How would you? I mean,
he remains.
Your final words on him as a thinker.
You cannot say periphery in politics, because politics nobody is periphery, nobody is center. The question is he remained as a romantic thinker. Idealistic thinker, what you can say, you are right, romantic. And romantics historically have played very constructive role, also destructive role. That's the history of romantic people. And JP has played also role. JP is always pleaded that he is a true Gandhian. Gandhians are always never, but at the same time Gandhi believes in peaceful struggle, mass struggle, but he pleaded for dissolution of assembly in the 70s, which is a anti-Gandhian struggle. He could have led mass movement demanding, placed demands before the elected government, or there should have been his lokaniti, like right to recall. He would have pressurized the government to implement right to recall rather than demanding that assembly should be disbanded, which is un-Gandhian in a sense. You are right to one way, because this romantic thinking of Nehru, JP, and sometimes made him periphery, pushed him to periphery, sometimes brought him to center. In the
Thank
Sarvodaya phase, he
I
was in the
think we
center,
have almost
and
reached
at the end, he was in also in the center in the
Perhaps we
Janata
should
phase.
have been a bit pragmatic, I think.
Big part.
Pragmatic, romantic, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Professor Barik. With this, we come to the end of this session. Just to summarize, today we had two sessions on thinkers, that is Jawaharlal Nehru and Jayaprakash Narayan, and unfortunately there were no questions or comments from your side, and we hope that this would change when we have a session next. Thank you, and thank you, Professor Barik.
Thank you.